Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Storyline English. It's so good to have you here. Let's take a breath together. Now, imagine for a moment you are standing in front of a mirror. You look at your face. You touch your skin. Maybe you want it to be softer. Maybe you want it to look younger. Maybe you want it to glow. This is a very human feeling. And here is something beautiful. People have had this same feeling for thousands and thousands of years. Long before Instagram, long before beauty stores, long before YouTube. People looked at their faces and thought, I want to look better. And that thought started one of the longest journeys in human history. The journey of skincare. But this story is not simple. It is not clean. It is full of strange discoveries, dangerous choices, and beautiful obsessions. Some people painted their faces with things that could kill them. Some people bathed in strange liquids to stay young. Some people risked everything, their health, their lives, just to be beautiful. And some of those same ideas are still alive today. So take a slow breath, get comfortable, and let me tell you the full story of skincare. The good, the bad, and the deeply human. And before we begin, if this is your first time here, welcome. On this channel, we use calm, slow stories to help you learn English. So just listen, just enjoy, and let the story carry you forward. Our story begins very far back, more than 5,000 years ago, in a land of golden sand, hot sun, and a great river that gave life to everything. We are in ancient Egypt, and in Egypt, people cared deeply about how they looked, not just for beauty, for meaning, for power, for survival. The sun in Egypt was strong. The wind was dry. The desert took the moisture from the skin and left it cracked and rough. So Egyptians began to search for something that could protect the skin, soften it, heal it. And they found it in the things around them. They used oils from plants. They pressed oil from the seeds of castor flowers. They used oil from almonds and from the fat of animals. They mixed these oils with herbs and with minerals from the earth. They put these mixtures on their skin every single day, not once a week, every day. Because in Egypt, caring for the body was not a luxury. It was a sacred act. It was connected to the gods, to the spirit, to the idea of eternal life. And here is something that might surprise you. Many of the ingredients they used thousands of years ago, plant oils, mineral powders, beeswax, are still used in skincare products today. The journey was long, but in many ways it started here, on the banks of the Nile. And it started with a simple human need: to feel protected, to feel cared for, to feel alive. But Egypt was not alone in this story. Across the world, in ancient Greece and Rome, people were also thinking about skin. And in these places, beauty was deeply connected to ideas about power and status. If your skin looked smooth and clean, people thought you were healthy, important, and strong. If your skin looked rough or marked, people might think you were poor, or sick, or weak. So for the people of Greece and Rome, skincare was not just personal, it was political. Greek women used olive oil on their skin. They mixed it with honey and with sea salt to clean and soften. They believed that olive oil, the same oil they cooked with, the same oil they burned in their lamps, was also the greatest gift for the skin. And they were not wrong. Olive oil is full of nutrients that protect and heal. Greek doctors, including the famous physician Hippocrates, the father of medicine, wrote about skin and how to care for it using natural plants and clean water. But in Rome, things became more extreme. Roman women began to use more complex mixtures. Some used a paste made from bread soaked in milk. Some used the fat of sheep. Some used chalk powder to make their skin look whiter and smoother. White skin in Rome was seen as beautiful and elite. And this obsession with white, pale skin would continue for centuries, sometimes with very, very dangerous results. But that part of the story comes a little later. For now, just notice something. The idea that your skin tells a story about who you are, this idea is very old, and it shaped everything that came after. Now let us move forward. We travel in time to the courts of Renaissance Europe. This is roughly 500 years ago. The kings and queens and noble families of Europe were obsessed with appearance. Their faces were their power. Their skin was their symbol. And in the royal courts of England, France, and Italy, a strange and dangerous fashion was born. Women, and many men, began to paint their faces with a white powder. This powder made the skin look pale, smooth, almost like porcelain. It was beautiful. It was fashionable. Everyone wanted it. But this powder had a terrible secret. It was made from lead, white lead, one of the most poisonous substances known to humans. The people using it did not fully understand the danger. They saw the beauty. They saw the effect. They did not see what the lead was doing slowly, quietly, inside their bodies. Lead enters the skin. It enters the blood. Over time, it damages the brain, the kidneys, the nervous system. It causes hair to fall out. It makes the skin itself thin and gray. And here is the dark irony of this story. The more a woman used the white lead powder to look beautiful, the more damaged her real skin became. So she needed more powder to cover the damage. And more damage came, and more powder was needed. It was a slow, silent cycle of poison. The most famous user of this white lead was Queen Elizabeth I of England. She wore thick layers of it on her face every day of her reign. She mixed it with vinegar to make it stick. And historians believe that this poison contributed to her death. She was a powerful queen, a brilliant ruler, but even she could not escape the cost of beauty's most dangerous secret. And this was not the end of the poison. This was only the beginning. Across the centuries, the obsession with beauty continued, and with it came more strange, more dangerous, more desperate solutions. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the 1700s and 1800s, Women in Europe discovered a new way to make their skin look white and luminous. It was called arsenic. Arsenic is a natural mineral. In very small amounts, it can make the skin look brighter and cleaner. And in the 1800s, women in Austria, Hungary, and across Europe began to eat it. Yes, they ate arsenic. Small amounts mixed with water or food. They believed it made their complexion glow. They believed it kept them young. And at first, in very small doses, the results seemed real. The skin did look brighter. So they kept going. They took more. And arsenic, of course, is one of the most well-known poisons in history. It builds up in the body slowly. It damages everything it touches. The women who used it became dependent on it, much like an addiction. If they stopped, their body had a terrible reaction. So they could not stop. This was not only a story of vanity. This was a story of desperation, of women living in a world where their appearance determined their marriage, their social standing, their entire future. They did not have many choices, and so they made this one. It is easy to judge them from the distance of time, but when you understand their world, the pressure, the expectations, the lack of choices, something else appears instead of judgment. Something that feels more like sadness. And maybe, quietly, recognition. Now let us take a slower breath. Because not all of this story is dark. There were also people who searched for gentler paths. Women who looked to nature, to plants, to ancient wisdom. In many parts of the world, in Asia, in Africa, in the Americas, people had long traditions of caring for the skin using ingredients from the earth. In Japan, women used rice water to wash their faces. The water left over after washing rice was rich in vitamins and minerals. It softened the skin and made it bright. This tradition is thousands of years old. And today, rice water is one of the most popular skincare trends in the world. In West Africa, women used shea butter, a thick, rich fat from the shea tree, to protect the skin from sun and wind and dryness. This butter is still one of the most loved ingredients in modern skincare. In India, women made turmeric pastes for the skin. Turmeric is a yellow spice full of anti-inflammatory properties. It reduces redness and calms irritation. In South America, the aloe vera plant was used to heal sunburns and soothe dry skin. These traditions were quiet. They were not in royal courts or fashion magazines, but they were wise. They were safe. They were built on thousands of years of careful observation of the natural world. And here is something worth pausing on. While European women were putting lead and arsenic on their skin, many women in other parts of the world were using ingredients that modern scientists now confirm are genuinely good for the skin. The wisdom was there. It was just not always the wisdom that got written down in history books. The 20th century, the 1900s, changed everything. This is when skincare stopped being a personal, homemade practice and became a global industry. And it began, like so many modern things, with advertising. In the early 1900s, companies began to sell creams, powders, and lotions in beautiful glass jars and painted tins. They gave them names that sounded scientific. They used words like rejuvenating and age-defying and miracle formula. And people believed them. One of the most important figures in this story is a woman named Helena Rubinstein. She was born in Poland in 1872. She came to Australia as a young woman with almost nothing. But she brought something with her, a jar of face cream made by a Hungarian chemist. The climate in Australia was very dry, very harsh on the skin, and women there had few options. Helena began selling her cream from her small apartment. Women came, they tried it, they loved it. And very quickly, Helena Rubinstein understood something that would change the world. She understood that women did not just want to buy a cream. They wanted to buy a story, a feeling, a promise. She opened the first modern beauty salon in Melbourne in 1902. She went on to build a global empire. She was one of the first women in the world to become a self-made millionaire. And she changed the way people talked about skincare, from something private and practical to something aspirational, scientific, and powerful. She helped create the modern beauty industry as we know it today. And she also helped create something else. The idea that youth is something you can buy, that beauty is something you can chase, and that the right product at the right price might just be the answer you are looking for. But as the beauty industry grew, so did something else. Questions. By the middle of the 20th century, scientists began to look more carefully at the ingredients in skincare products, and what they found was sometimes disturbing. Mercury, for example, was used in many skin lightening creams well into the 20th century. Mercury is extremely toxic, but it did lighten the skin, and in countries and cultures where lighter skin was associated with beauty and status, these creams were very popular. Governments eventually banned mercury in cosmetics, but not everywhere, and not quickly enough. The lesson was becoming clearer, but it was still slow to arrive. The beauty industry moved fast. Regulation moved slow. And the people in the middle, the consumers, mostly women, were often the ones who paid the price. There was also the question of sunscreen. Scientists in the mid-20th century began to understand the connection between sun exposure and skin aging and cancer. In 1938, a Swiss chemist named Franz Greiter climbed a mountain, got badly sunburned, and was inspired to develop the first modern sunscreen. It took years, but by the 1970s and 1980s, sunscreen was becoming part of everyday life. And today, scientists agree on this. If there is one single thing that protects the skin more than anything else, it is sunscreen. Not the most expensive cream, not the most complex formula, just sun protection. Simple, quiet, humble. But perhaps the most important discovery in the entire long history of skincare. And yet, even with all this knowledge, the obsession did not slow down. In the late 20th century and into the 21st, the pressure to look young, to look perfect, to have beautiful skin grew stronger than ever. The internet arrived, then social media arrived, and suddenly millions of people were comparing their faces every day, not just to the people around them, but to images that had been filtered, edited, and professionally lit. The skincare industry exploded. New products arrived every week. New ingredients became trends overnight. Retinol, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C serums, peptides, niacinamide. The language of skincare became almost scientific, and for many people, confusing. Companies spent millions on marketing. They used the same strategy Helena Rubinstein had used a century before. Sell the story, sell the feeling, sell the dream. And consumers spent billions in return. By 2023, the global skincare market was worth more than $150 billion. $150 billion. For creams, serums, masks, and promises of youth. And here is the complicated truth at the center of all of this. Some of the new ingredients are genuinely effective. Scientists have confirmed that retinol does reduce wrinkles, that hyaluronic acid does hold moisture in the skin, that vitamin C does brighten and protect. But many, many products are mostly packaging and promises. The science exists, but so does the noise around it. And learning to tell the difference? That is one of the small, quiet skills of modern life. So, where does this leave us? After 5,000 years of oils and poisons, creams and promises, lead and sunscreen and rice water and retinol, where are we now? We are in a strange and interesting place. On one hand, we know more about skin than ever before in human history. We understand what causes aging. We understand how UV radiation damages cells. We understand which ingredients have real evidence behind them. On the other hand, the pressure to have perfect skin, to look young forever, to glow at all ages, to never show a wrinkle or a scar or a pore, has perhaps never been stronger. The wellness industry and the beauty industry have merged into something enormous and powerful. And in the middle of all of it is a simple human being, looking in the mirror, asking the same question people have always asked. How do I look? How can I look better? The journey of skincare is, at its deepest level, not really about skin at all. It is about something much more tender. It is about wanting to feel seen, to feel valued, to feel that you are enough, even while the world around you tells you to be more, to be younger, to be smoother, to be different. The women who painted their faces with lead 200 years ago were not foolish. They were human. They were doing what humans have always done, trying, in whatever way they could, to belong, to be seen, to feel beautiful in a world that often made beauty feel like the only power they had. And so we arrive at the end of our story. From the ancient banks of the Nile to the laboratories of modern science, from castor oil and honey to hyaluronic acid and SPF, the story of skincare is a mirror, not of your face, but of human history itself. It reflects our fears, our desires, our creativity, our suffering, and our enduring, stubborn, beautiful hope that tomorrow we might feel just a little more at home in our own skin. And here is the quiet lesson I want to leave with you today. Beauty has always been chaste. But the most powerful things in this story were not the expensive creams or the fashionable trends. They were the simple, patient, gentle things. The olive oil, the rice water, the shea butter, the sunscreen. The things that did not promise miracles, The things that just worked. Sometimes the most powerful discovery is not something new. It is remembering something old, something true, something quiet. And as an English learner, I want you to notice something. You just listened to a long, complex story about history, science, culture, and human nature. And you understood it. Maybe not every word, but enough. You stayed, you listened, you learned. And that is exactly what learning a language feels like. Slow at first, then, a little at a time, it becomes clearer. Just like the skin after good, patient care. Thank you so much for being here today. This was a long journey, and you stayed until the end. That means something. Now, I have one question for you. Just one. And you only need one word to answer it. The story of skincare is only half of the picture. Because while women were putting dangerous things on their skin, they were also putting dangerous things on their faces, their lips, their eyes, their cheeks. Coal made from lead, lipstick made from crushed beetles, mascara that could blind you. The dark history of makeup is waiting, and I want to know, do you want that story? If yes, leave one word in the comments right now. Just write, makeup. That is all, one word, and I will know you are ready. I will see you in the next story. Take care of yourself.